Congratulations for a great career. Thank you for all you've done for the Utah Jazz.
On the dais with me is, I think everyone knows, our owner and Chief Executive Officer Greg Miller, Karl Malone, our honoree, Coach Jerry Sloan, and John Stockton. I'd also like to recognize, and we really appreciate joining us, Gail and Kim, Heidi, of course the lovely wife of Jerry, Tammy, thank you for being here, Steve Miller. Also, we have some other coaches, Coach Phil Johnson, big part of this. Brian Russell, great to have you as also with us. And who's hiding back? Oh, and Howard Isley. Howard, great having you also with us. So we want a number of people, and please, as the media, you're welcome to also interview any of these individuals as part of this special occasion. It is great today that we're honoring one of the greatest coaches in the NBA. And we've really appreciated that for having planned and prepared for this special occasion. We've wanted to and been eager as an organization to actually recognize Coach Sloan and for all of his accomplishments. And we're glad that finally Gail and Greg and Steve were able to twist his arm and make this be able to come to be a reality. And this is a special occasion. So with that, we'll be excited to first hear from Greg Miller. He will then be followed by Karl, and then John, and then Coach Sloan.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say that it's an honor and a privilege to be seated here along with three of you. This is a great opportunity. And I'd just like to share a few thoughts, Jerry, about the impact that you've had, some of the things that I've learned from you and what you've meant to the organization. I was in my early 20s and a newlywed when you became the head coach. And so I feel like I was able to look up to you, and in many ways you were a father figure in terms of the way I learned from you, the lessons you taught me. For example, you taught me the importance of hard work. It was amazing for me to see you. I remember the time we went fishing up at the cabin, and we took the old boat out of the shed. It hadn't been used for several years, and had been under where some birds had been nesting, and had a lot of dust on it. And I went to spray it off, and you basically said, "Get out of my way," and took the hose out of my hand and sprayed the boat off. And just wanted to get the work done yourself, and that's just exemplary of excuse me, of many things that I watched you do over the years. So hard work is obviously something that you taught me that has made a difference. Also, I learned the importance of having a plan and sticking to it. I remember many times in the locker room at the half and after the game, just hearing you talk about running your stuff and sticking to the plan, and that's helped me a lot in the way the businesses are run today. I also learned about the importance of executing the basics and executing the game plan better than the other guys if you want to win. It's not about being the most glamorous or glitzy. It's just about executing the fundamentals better than the other guy, and that was something that I learned from you. And there were obviously many other lessons along the way, but I'll leave it at that right now. I'd like to say that I'm thankful for the examples that you and Karl and John and my dad set throughout your careers. All of you exemplified excellence always. I'm looking forward to reaching the same levels of greatness, with the generation that I'm working with the coaches and players, and hopefully we'll be able to take it just about half a step further and win an NBA championship for the state of Utah and all of our fans. Thank you for your many contributions over the years and for the role that you've played in making the Utah Jazz one of the most respected franchises in the NBA. And thank you for letting us honor you. Karl?
First of all, I'd like to say to the Miller family and the Jazz Nation, and I know it's Jazz Nation because my wife keeps up with Jazz on Twitter. So everything I do, she want to tweeted about it to Jazz Nation, so that's awesome. And I'll just say, as a player, when you're first coming in and being a young player, I don't think we understand the magnitude of things, and maybe I didn't at the time, but when it's all said and done, I look back and it's just, to me, everything just lined up perfect for me as a kid from Louisiana, coming to, I thought it was a city initially, but somebody reminded me it was a state. And Coach Lee reminded through the Jazz parade that it wasn't for me. 47, you know. But I just think everything lined up perfect for me. And then to, first of all, have an owner like Larry. I used to call him Mr. Miller, and he would say, "Okay, Mr. Malone." So, but the whole Jazz family, the Miller family, and then to have a coach like Coach Sloan, Coach Frank, Coach Johnson, to continue to run the same plays over and over again, and then to have a teammate like John Stockton and teammates here now that I played with. I'm honored to be here, Coach. And I know you used to always tell me, you know, when are you going to get satisfied? You and Coach Johnson used to tell me. And I'll tell you now, I didn't want to disappoint you. I really didn't. I didn't want to disappoint you. I didn't want to disappoint the coaching staff, because you guys made it possible for me to be the person I was. I felt when I came here, I was a young man, a young boy, and I grew up to be a young man, good or bad or indifferent. But I just want to say that, you know, playing hard was easy because you played the game. Coach, you played the game. You guys did it, and I didn't want to disappoint you guys. So I just want to say I'm honored to be here. It's a great day. I'm finally glad you guys were able to twist his arm enough for him to do it. And Coach, we love you. I love you, man. And like I said, you're the best. So to that, I'll turn it over to John, because I've been told by Randy that I had 2 or 3 minutes. Did I do it, Randy? You did great. Okay, I'm too perfect. So,
moments of silence around my house, and there aren't many of them. I just can't believe my good fortune to come to this community, to come where the Millers are so spectacular in what they do for the community and for their players and for their coaches, be able to step up and do an event like this to honor somebody I admire. It just kind of rekindles that sense of wow, I can't believe this has happened to me. To have a chance to play with Karl and Brian and Howard and a bunch of other guys that aren't in here in the room right now, that they're like brothers. And I don't really, if you've never played on a team, if you've never been in a sport, it's really hard to explain that to anybody else. But to have guys like that you can speak so freely with and be yourself with, it's irreplaceable. It's irreplaceable in my life. And then to have the type of leadership we've had, certainly with our coaches, Phil, Gordy, Kenny, I mean, with Scotty. I mean, there's been a lot of guys that have come down the pike and helped out with that tremendously. But it all kind of culminated with Jerry. First, I don't leave out Frank. I mean, Frank was, Jerry will even tell you, was such a strong influence, a wonderful influence on all of us. And as Jerry is a coach, but to be able to play under Jerry Sloan, first of all, a person who I do admire and I respect. Like, we've had an interesting relationship. It's like a father-son relationship. It's like a big brother relationship. It's like a friend relationship. And I don't know if you get to go through life with many of those opportunities to have that. And I have it right here in one man. And I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of this organization for twisting his arm, as Karl said, and getting him to come up here and accept this, because it gives us a chance to get together for one. But also say some of the things we feel and the heartfelt things that we feel, and anyway, very fortunate man, and Jerry, I can't thank you enough. Jerry, I think Karl said in the video, he's never been given anything in his life that he hasn't earned, and tonight's no different. Very proud of everything you've done. Thank you.
I got to get the knife out of my back first. Dale stuck me pretty good. I'm very honored that you went ahead and did the knife thing. I've been blessed. I thought I was a great coach till we lost these guys. Things kind of fell apart there for a while, but I was the most lucky guy in the world to have the opportunity to coach 2 guys that's willing to pay the price of being good every day. And I think that's what makes it so exciting with the team, with these guys, and the teammates that they had. Everyone saw them work hard, and everybody joined in on the workouts. I'll be there in a minute, Frank. I've been blessed to play in this organization for a number of years, and obviously I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Phil, who recommended me to the job with Frank. And then when Phil left, I ended up coming here, and it was a blessing for me because I'd been fired before. I knew what it was like. And when you run into that situation, you're always trying to find the best way to not have that happen. But all the years that Phil and I spent together, they're really great memories of tough games, I know we won a game, I think we were down about 30-some points in the fourth quarter, almost 40 points, came back and won the game against Denver because of the determination that these guys had, ended up winning the game going away because they were willing to pay the price to be good and give us that opportunity. So those things speak volumes. Frank, you're a little bit late, I'll already talk about you.
That was your first thing. You got time?
Those are things I was listening to TV the other day, and somebody said about me being set up the East Coast trip around Christmas time. Frank set that up. Frank set that East Coast trip up, and it worked very well until a little bit later on. But I've gotten an awful lot of credit for what he taught me and what he helped me with, and I'm very thankful for that.
Why don't we open it up now to questions that the media may have at this time?
We have a roving microphone.
Coach, congratulations first of all.
Thank you.
Who was your biggest influence in your coaching style and how you developed as a coach?
Well, I played for Dick Mount in Chicago for 8 years, and played in college for Coach McCutcheon. I think when it's all said and done, I look back at the whole picture. Mata was a tremendous impact on him because I played for him for 8 years, and Phil played for him at Weber State. I believe it was Weber State, right? And he was familiar with everything that went on with Coach Mata. And I'd have to say that he was probably the biggest influence on how we would try to play. And then because Phil and I had all that experience, but I can't take away from the fact that Frank helped me probably in so many other ways, put your shirt in your pants and little things like that. And I think a lot of people take a look at it and it's not for them, but that's okay. We had certain little things we like to do, and I think the players respected that, respected us for staying with things. So it'd be hard to separate Frank and Dick Mata when it's all said and done. My college coach though told me before I ever played a game for him, he told me that he wanted me to come back and be a head coach after 10 years in the pros, and I hadn't even played in college. And that always stuck in the back of my mind just a little bit. He had influence too.
Coach, you've coached so many games in this building with looking up in the rafters and seeing all those great players and Hot Rod and Larry. And what's it going to mean when you walk into that building and see your name up there with all the Jazz greats of the past?
Well, it's a real honor to be just mentioned in the same breath with all of those guys. It's a little bit strange because I had my number retired when I played in Chicago. And when I went back in there for the first time, it was kind of shocking. I thought I still played in Chicago. I'm a Utah person now, thick and thin, through thick and thin.
Coach, it's an honor to be here, and the panel. It's great for me here. Of the 1,223 victories, what is the one? Which of them are your most favorite?
Remember the what?
Of the 1,223 victories that you have, which is your most favorite?
I thought that's how many technical fouls I had. Well, this is a great setup for me, but I don't have to go too far to come up with some numbers. It's not all those things are nice, but it's not something you dwell on or go on. I just think I was very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. And, things got in place because of the kind of people we have, and it was a great run, really a great run.
Coach, obviously basketball has been great to you. What did you hope to get out of it when you were 16, 17 years old? What were you hoping basketball would do for you?
Give me a ride home. I only live 16 miles out in the country, and there's a long walk if you couldn't get a ride. And we experienced that a number of times. David Lee, who's, I don't know, Dave, 39 or not. He spoke earlier today. He was a teammate of mine, and we walked a number of miles to get to where we had to be to get home or get back to college, high school. I know that's cornball stuff, but it pays a lot of dividends for guys who are willing to do that.
Coach, I know in all your humility, and you really don't like these kind of things to,
You're right.
especially on you. But deep down, take away the humility. How cool is this for you? And really, what are you thinking inside your heart?
I didn't think I would make it through the day. I was lucky to, I felt like I was lucky to make it through the day because when I saw John Crowdy, I knew these guys, I'd already seen him come in, I run into John Crowdy. Here's a guy that, when he was here, which most of the players that we had here always worked hard. He worked over and above who he was. And I respect that about players who are willing to do that. And he's had a nice career away from basketball. And that's what you hope happens with all players, that things go well for them after they're no longer able to play.
Coach, now having a couple years off, do you have any regrets or anything that you wish you could have done better in your coaching tenure?
Oh, there's a number of things. You can drive yourself crazy about that. After every game, you make the wrong decision, call the wrong play. I lost my part. I apologize. I lost my train of thought. I got too emotional.
Any regrets? What would you have done differently? Regrets?
Oh. I'd call a different play when we played Chicago coming down the stretch. It was a good play, but didn't work out. You go home just like everybody else.
Another question?
Jeremy,
John, Karl, do you guys have a favorite Jerry Sloan story that you can tell us right now? That's probably clean to tell.
I was going to say the key word of that is that we can tell you. Well, for me, it's pretty simple. He invited my whole family out to his place in Queensboro, and we enjoyed maybe the best family vacation of our lives. And there's no Disneyland there. There's no wild rides. There's just good people and a good place, and we all got to know each other really well. I obviously knew him pretty well beforehand, but the kids did, and for me, that's the most special story I can talk about.
Yeah, I think mine is being an athlete when you come in as a rookie. You just want it to be fair. And I can say with Coach Sloan and the coaching staff, they didn't promise anything. If you earned minutes, you played. If you didn't earn them, you didn't play. And I can just say that being around Coach Sloan, if you played hard and handled your business, you had an opportunity to play. I've always said that coaches don't determine how many minutes you play. You as a player determine that. So when I came here, I know I was a rookie, but they didn't treat me like that. They just said to go out and play hard. So if I had to take anything, I'll just say that they was fair with me and told me what at the end of the season what I need to work on to get better. And I tried to do that, but like I said, I just didn't want to disappoint them, and I thank Coach Sloan for continuing to run the plays over and over and over. And when other teammates probably didn't like it, he said, "Well, we'll run them to you. See what you're going to do with them." So that's about it.
You get us some jobs.
No.
Jerry, how did basketball change during your coaching tenure? Did it change? How did basketball change from your coaching tenure from when you first started to even now? Has it changed?
When I first started, the travel was really difficult. I went to Baltimore as a rookie, and the travel was pretty difficult back then because you flew not commercial, but otherwise. And I think that was the thing that changed the most. When teams started chartering, we were one of the last teams to charter. Because of John and Karl, they were able to have a little bit more pull. Once he put us in the charter, these guys could play every night. And their statistics on that night in and night out were very close. And I think that probably was a big change in NBA basketball. I'm not sure that games have gotten that much better. But if you want to be a great player in this league and you want to be as good a player as you can be, you have every opportunity to go out there and take care of yourself and do those things. A lot of good can come from that.
Jerry, first of all, just curious if you had considered writing a book with John Stockton about your life, but also.
No, I couldn't believe you wrote one. As quiet as he's always been, but we know John a lot better than any of you out there sitting out there. We know what he's about. I was really proud of having the opportunity to read his book. I only read it twice because every young kid should have an opportunity to should read that book because of the type of person he is. They don't come down the pike every day like he is and like Karl has been over their career because they put a lot into it. I made a statement today about this morning. We run 16 or ladders or 17s, and John lost one race in 19 years. I'm talking about having to step up there and make yourself as good as you can be every day, and I think he and Karl came as close to doing that as anybody. Nobody expected him to get much better because he couldn't shoot free throws. But who taught him how to shoot free throws? He taught himself. We all give him ideas and everything, but how much does a player want to get better? And these guys are perfect examples of players that wanted to get better and be good every night they could because they enjoyed playing basketball.
Second, what do you miss most about your coaching career and being involved with the team on a daily basis?
Well, it was a big loss whenever I stepped down because the biggest problem I had was not having an opportunity to associate with coaches. We had a game, I talk about all the things that's going on. Phil Johnson's here my whole time, and assistant coaches we had, Kenny Nat, all these guys, they gave me a lot more credit than I deserved because they did a lot of things that was important for us to win. And they taught, I know Phil spent a great deal of time, him and Scott Layton spent a great deal of time working with Mark Eaton and making him an all-star performer in this league because he could block shots. And you want to talk about loyalty? Check those guys out. They're the best in the business in that department because it's an easy task to jump out there and say something about the head coach and cause things to go haywire real quick. But I had tremendous support from my coaching staff. Of course, the front office were even greater than that as far as sticking behind you.
Did coaching change from the time you started to the time you completed your career? I mean, I don't know if it did or not, I'm asking you.
I'll tell you a story my college coach said. People were always talking about things going on. This had been a number of years ago. It always stuck in my mind. He said that these guys are coming up with these ideas about playing basketball. They talk about transition. This is a number of years ago. He said, I don't know what that means. But where I was brought up, it means get your butt down the floor. And that kind of resonated with me. If you do that, you have a chance to win.
Coach, at what point in your career did you realize that the guys sitting next to you were special and had a special bond and had a bright future?
I don't know if you remember the time. I don't know any specific timetable, but I was Frank's assistant coach and had a couple of opportunities to leave. And I know that watching these two guys every day, and I don't know if I was smart enough, but I certainly thought these guys are going to be pretty good. And they were pretty good because they put a lot into it. I gave way too much credit for what I've done, and these guys deserve more credit for what they did.
Question for John and Karl. Coach kind of just said it right there, and he's always said it's a players' league, it's for the players, but we're clearly here to honor Coach based on what he's done over his career. Maybe one of your biggest takeaways from what Coach taught you on the floor as players to help you get to your Hall of Fame spot as well.
the game's pretty simple, and it doesn't need to have a lot of nonsense in it. And these are lessons, you're asking the lessons that we learned. Not that we were looking for a lot of nonsense out there, but it was all gone. I mean, it was very simple. You come to practice, you bring your lunch pail, you go to work. You go home, you think about it, get ready for work the next day, and whether it's a win or a loss, or you keep that even keel, and you get ready to go again the next day. And whether that's a specific lesson we learned on a given day or something we gained over time, it is what the Jazz were throughout our careers anyway. Is we're nice even keel throughout, and with ups and downs, they weren't major spikes. And I think you do that when you eliminate the nonsense, and you're prepared, and you love what you're doing, and so you put your time in to do it. He's very